Historians of North American architecture who have studied early 19th century houses with wooden floors have observed that the boards used on the floors of bigger oh, I hate this question.
Is
Used,
it a badly written question? I'm wondering because
used on the floors of bigger houses were generally much narrower than those used on the floors of smaller houses. Okay, so this sentence I have to think about for a second. Okay, so we're saying that if the wooden floors that were used on bigger houses were more narrow than the smaller houses. Okay. These historians have argued that since the people from whom the big houses were built were generally richer than those for whom the smaller houses were built, floors made out of narrow floorboards were probably once a status symbol designed to proclaim the owner's wealth. Okay, this is a terrible argument. So our conclusion is
wait. So
that
how would you critique this argument before even going to the question?
oh well, I have to find the conclusion. Sorry, I'm finding
Oh,
like I have to find the conclusion. Like I mean, we know. Okay, so we're saying that floors made out of narrow were a sign of wealth because they were in these bigger houses that tended to be richer. And
yeah.
so like just like I'm trying to think like well maybe I'm thinking like well maybe structurally there's a reason why like you use narrower floorboards than the
In bigger
smaller
houses.
like maybe like there's like some purpose to them. Like
Uh,
anything that like if I was going to destroy this I'm thinking like well how like what like couldn't there be another reason why they don't they use more narrow boards?
mhm.
I'm trying to think of something else. Like, um, yeah, like that it's not a design, like it's not just a status symbol. Like there's actually like a purpose to it or something.
Okay.
Okay, and then so if I'm going to strengthen it, I want to just truly find something that's going to strengthen this idea that they did it to as like a status symbol. So I'm gonna like I think something that would be like there's no other reason to use narrow boards would definitely strengthen that. It's just like
Yeah.
a like it's this purpose.
Mhm.
And so A says more original floorboards have survived from big early 19th centuries than from small. No, I don't care. More original. No,
Yeah.
it means they're higher in quality potentially, but no. In the early 19th century, a piece of narrow floorboard was not significantly less expensive than a piece of wide floorboard of the same length. Well, so that's saying that it was not less significantly less expensive. I'm gonna leave this one, but I don't like it because that doesn't really play into I think I would rather it say like more expensive, but there's no benefit for that extra cost. But I'm gonna leave B for a minute. See, in the early 19th century, smaller houses generally had no, I don't care that there's fewer rooms. D, some, at least one early 19th century house had wide floorboards near the walls of each room and near, no, I don't care. At least one house did that, irrelevant. E, many of the biggest early 19th century houses, but very few small houses from that period had at least one floors that were made of materials that were considerably, no, I don't care about that. So yeah, I would go with B.
Wow. I chose E. And I think the reason B confused me was the word significantly because I was like, that just threw me off because I thought we just need to say that like it was not less expensive, meaning it was more expensive,
No, I
right?
don't even like that. Actually, we need it to say was not significant. Like, I wish it said was not, I wish it said was not any bit less expensive. What makes this one tough is because we were expecting it to say a piece of narrow floorboard was more expensive and didn't have
Well,
any purpose.
uh-huh.
Where this is saying like there's not another reason that they didn't just buy these they
But
didn't buy
I guess
like they didn't use like because like what if these are big houses and they're less expensive so they used them just because it was cheaper and they needed more of them or something. I don't know. I
wait,
don't
but
love
what Nicole, why does the word significantly like I thought that made this answer bad because like was not significantly less expensive. So this still accounts for okay, it could be less expensive by a little bit. But wouldn't that not help our argument if these were less not significantly
right.
less
It
expensive?
was not, but that is yes, but it doesn't. You're making the assumption that if it's not significantly less, it for sure is still less. Or technically, it could be more here. This still allows the option of it to be more.
But doesn't I thought we don't want at all to allow for the option that it's less, like slightly less than.
I agree, and that's why I didn't like it. But after going through the other answer choices, I'm like, it's the only one that even does anything remotely close to helping our argument, and that's why this is the most difficult level of question.
Okay. Can we go over E and why that was not the right answer? Because
Yes, many of the biggest early 19th century houses, but very few were made of marble, that doesn't show, like, because we're trying to prove that narrow boards are a status of wealth.
Mhm.
Like, this proves that the people that have big houses probably had wealth, but that
So I
doesn't
thought it just
but
yeah, so I thought it was like a correlation thing. Okay, like, okay, this is greater
that
evidence that
doesn't mean that narrow floorboards are a sign of wealth.
I thought I guess I interpret it saying that like, okay, this adds evidence to show that the bigger houses were for the richer people, and if those bigger houses happen to come with narrow floorboards, which the smaller houses didn't, that makes it more likely that that has to do with wealth as well. Kind of like it was
But
a feature of a wealthy house.
yeah, I mean, like, but correlation causation is such a bad argument. Just
Hmm.
like
Isn't that sometimes though? Are there never? Aren't there sometimes LSAT answers that have to do
we're
with
trying to
that?
specifically prove, we're specifically talking about narrow floorboards and that they're a sign of wealth. There could be a million other reasons why people use narrow floorboards. Like, maybe they're of higher quality. It does not have to be because they're wealthier. Just because bigger houses are more expensive doesn't mean that they're using narrow floorboards because they're a status symbol.
Hmm.
Like, yeah, they might be able to afford, like, yes, like but I think even here, like, we already know
That bigger houses are for richer
that the
people.
for richer
Right.
people. But, like, what did you accomplish by adding that other than establish,
Right.
like, times two, they're the rich people. Like, we already knew that.
Right. We knew that from the stimulus. That does make sense. Yeah. And I guess the reason the significantly you're saying it doesn't matter is because we don't need to cross out. I guess what you're saying is this answer could be a lot better, but it still does something like a little bit.
Yeah, it's not saying that they were just cheaper. Like, they didn't just buy them because they were a lot less expensive.
I thought it was wrong because I thought we can't even leave open the possibility that was slightly less expensive because then why would the rich people like how would that connect to rich?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Like, that's why I didn't like it, but it at least it's like telling us they're not significant. At least it helps us a little. It helps us more than anything else.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, that's what makes these